All right, I literally have no idea what took me so long to do this video, but I feel like this is gonna be something that we're gonna keep revisiting. So this particular one, I'm gonna be building my tier list based on popular TV shows. Let's have a dialogue here. So I'm gonna give you my preference for each show, whether it's a hit or a miss, and then I want to know your thoughts on that as well. So then that way we can just have like a educated color grading based conversation other than just saying, I like Rec 709 better. I think this video is gonna get controversial real fast because a lot of these colorists I know on first name basis because majority of them are friends. But at the same time, I wanted to do this unbiased, unfiltered way. So there's no politics happening here. These are just my opinions and my thoughts on these shows. When it comes to color grading, at the end of the day, it's very subjective. So you might like something that I may hate and vice versa. So let's keep an open mind about this. And there's a wide gamut of looks that we're gonna be going through here. These looks are very difficult to create from scratch. Free tools and any other third-party plugin that's out there still struggles to get you where you wanna go until now. And that's the perfect time to thank our sponsor, Qazi's Toolkit. I developed this tool keeping beginners in mind. Okay, so this is not just for beginners. My friends that have been grading for years and have given it a shot, their workflow has transformed 100%. I mean, just look at the screen what some of the people are saying about this toolkit. If you want to create looks like The Matrix or Blade Runner or Joker, you can do so within minutes, regardless of your skill set. So by clicking the special link in the description, you get $200 off the entire Qazi's Toolkit bundle. So check it out, and without any further ado, let's roll the intro. All right, now we're inside Resolve. My tier list for popular TV shows, I did not put them in any specific order. So I'm gonna start with Dark, one of my favorite shows, and especially the way it looked, and especially the way it was graded. I mean, just look at this. The way I can sum it up is that it's just silky smooth contrast, muted tones, perfect skin tones, like chef's kiss, and it just all came together. And everything had the right amount of punch where it was needed. So like, look at right here, the color of the wood is just to die for, but then everything else is muted. And I'm using QT Charts, the best Resolve utility to do this sort of stuff. If you want to break down shots and if you want to recreate these looks, because this has everything that you need. So let's just say if I want to see skin tones in this shot, I can just click on skin hue indicator and it tells me exactly where the skin is sitting, okay? So maybe some of it is in okay zone, but most of it is in like magenta or like red. And that's exactly what we see here. But like if you're just looking at it through your eyes, or if you're hovering over and looking at it through here, your vector scope, it's not pinpointing and telling you exactly where you need to go, okay? So that's one thing that I love it, and we're gonna be using it throughout this thing, so that's why I'm using this. Why am I not using something that's available in Resolve or anywhere else? Because this is the best fucking utility for this job. That's why I'm using this, and it just happens to be my creation. Another thing I wanna talk about is like where everything is living in this show. So let's just look at this shot. And it's obviously during the day, right? And it does not look dark. And even if I look at our false color, I mean, it's in a healthy space. So like, look at the actual road is sitting between here all the way to here, right? So the exposure is pretty good. And then the adjacent areas like right here and right here get dark, which is actually perfect because then my eye goes straight to my boy right here, okay? And then beautiful art direction because of the jacket. He pops out. Everything else is muted. Everything else around him is dead, right? And it just like, it goes with the story. Look at the colors. Look at our vector scope. And we can also attest to it if we click on sat false color. And it gets to tell us how little color is in our image. And the only area that has like a decent amount of punch is his jacket. And again, great art direction. So it's not even like, the colorist really has to bring it out. But I'm pretty sure that they did just do enough to pop it out even more. And then the rest of the image is pretty neutral, pretty clean. So even if we go check our highlight neutrals, meaning really good blacks and really good highlights, and areas that are brown is like just pure white and pure black, okay? And that's what we're seeing. So this area is like neutral, like really close to like pure blacks. And then right here is like a really good, almost near zero saturation areas, right? So this makes your image look really crisp and really clean. And I call them anchors. So like once your anchors are in place, everything else that you do in the middle, our brain just buys it. So when we see it, if you give me true blacks, right? If somebody's hair is black and then you give me actual black in their hair, then you can build me a teal and orange look or whatever you want to do. I will buy it because my brain will just go, well, his hair looks black. So maybe it must have been the lighting or wherever he is. I bought the rest of it, right? So that's the entire thing. And this show just did this entire thing in spades. Like, I mean, just look at this, right? Every single shot, like I mentioned, is just a work of art, like all of it. And there's so many different color palettes going on here. And it's just so classy. Like classy is the word comes to mind. Like I said, silky smooth contrast, muted tones, skin tones that are absolutely perfection. And you can just tell that this is a bespoke look. It's not something where somebody just slapped on a LUT and then reverse engineered it. Like every single thing here, without even me looking at it, I can tell you these are, the highlights are perfectly neutral. Let's attest to it. And as soon as I clicked on it, bam, right? And it's like, now this is the kind of stuff that you need if you want it to be accurate from device to device, right? So like if somebody is ever wondering, hey, how can I make sure that my stuff looks good here and then it looks good everywhere else? These are the tools that you would use to make sure that, hey, if this is neutral, then this is objective. This is taking the subjectivity out of the question and making things very objective, like black and white, basically, right? So it's like if the highlights are neutral and if like your saturation is near 0%, then it don't matter which device is going to be on. It's going to look neutral. It's going to look really clean. Going back to it, my God, to die for. Even when they do complementary color scheme, it's just the right amount. Like nothing is really punching you in the face. And based on all of this, I mean, just look at the contrast. Some examples we're going to see later down the road, and you will notice that it's going to be so caked on and the contrast will be punching you in the mouth that is a dead giveaway that it's not sophisticated. It's not good enough. Whereas here, we have so much contrast, yet everything is breathing. And this is a work of a true master where you see something and you go, oh my God, like I'm looking at it on my $30,000 screen. I'm looking at it on my $1,500 OLED and I'm looking at my $200 LCD panel or IPS panel, and all of them look drop dead gorgeous. Like it just looks phenomenal. This was like one of my favorite shots. Like everything has so much meat. Like look at this orange and how everything belongs. Yet, once again, it's so soft. It's so soft. And like, look at the saturation. Like, I mean, sometimes, you know, there are shots where the saturation is going to be maxing out. So keeping that in mind, this is pretty conservative. Yet, it just has so much weight. And that is happening, especially if I turn on my false color and show you where the majority of the image lives. And what you get to see here is, look at the grays, look at the yellows, and look at the little bit of the orange, right? So the entire image is living between 0.25 all the way to 0.65. And this is where you want to keep things, folks. And even if I come out and show you, that's exactly what's happening here. Like, look at it right here. This is where the actual meat is. If you want to add weight to your colors, this is where you want to keep them. And the colorist here, Stefan, did that. Just such a phenomenal job. I mean, this is such a beautiful shot. I mean, somebody can say this was shot on film. Somebody can say this was shot on a freaking $1 trillion camera, you know, Pagani of cameras. I will buy it all because it is so gorgeous, done to freaking perfection. And once again, without even looking at it, I can just tell that there are pure neutrals happening right here. So let's check it out. If I go here and if I turn on my pure neutrals, bam, right? It's just, it nails it. And guys, this show right here is, for me, super. It's all the way to the top. I cannot believe that we started with the bang. So dark is going all the way to the top. Legend. You must watch it. Now we are looking at Squid Game. This is probably the best looking shot, and it's only because it's the art direction. So cooler room, and then nice pink outfit that they were in, their uniform, and it just pops. You don't have to be a colorist to do that. This does not look good at all. Like, when you're grading, right, and you get your footage and you convert it to Rec 709, it usually comes with this sort of like a yellow gunk that is the first thing to clean up. That's the first thing that you start with. They just clean up that much and then go in whichever direction you want to go in. And when I look at this, I mean, I am itching to just make some changes. I'm like, oh my God, like this yellow is looking so gunky. Please help me out here. Like, I just want to go here. I want to go to my curves. I want to go to my hue versus hue. I want to grab my yellow and I just want to go here, man. Maybe something like that, right? And then maybe I want to go under hue versus sat and I just want to pull it down and I just want to go here. Like this to me just looks so much better. And that was just like 2 little changes to where it's sitting. And it's not serving the story. Nobody can tell me anything like, oh, it's just, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. No, it's not. We just saw the good examples, right? So, I mean, if we go back here and if we pull up something like a warm shot here, I mean, come on, this is dark. So let's just do like apples to apples, right? And even like, this sort of shot where there's like a light coming through compared to when we come here. It's just, they're not in the same league. I'm sorry. Like, look at this shot. Like this like gunky yellow, again, that's like just kind of seeping in. It's just, it doesn't seem like, I don't know. It just seems like not the type of grading that you would expect from a show like that. Yeah, I'm thinking about like, even something like, I think it's called Alice in Borderlands or something like that. I mean, the grading on that is so good. Again, if I just go here, hue versus hue, and I just want to, like swing my yellow a little bit, right? Like, so even if I just go not too crazy and then hue versus sat and then just like pull it down a little bit and we can just clean this up. And it just like looks so much better. And I feel like that was just the thing throughout the show. Like, it's almost like the colorist hasn't, gotten through his proper balancing, exercise. Once again, I'm sorry. There's going to be like freaking Reddit forums about, after this video, and people like just are going to be talking about like how I'm shitting on, professional colorists. The whole idea is that their work is out there for everybody to judge. Just like when I put out these videos and anybody and everybody comes out with a license to kill and says whatever they want. I am somebody who's been doing this professionally for 14 years. And this is just my hot take. Last show that we talked about was God tier, better than what I can do. And I can admit it. This, I think there's a lot of room left on the table here. And this does not look good at all. I saw it and I was like, what the F is this? Even like this. It's just so Rec 709-y, man. Like, it's just like, somebody just graded it in Premiere Pro. That's what it feels like. Okay, so let's look at this shot, right? Like, once again, somebody considers, oh, this looks amazing, Qazi. What the hell are you talking about? Great. This is all art direction. I'm telling you right now, because if I were to just now take you to, let's just say, this shot. Now, look at like similar thing, right? Like, look at this shot to this shot. It's like, there's like gunky yellow. There's just all these things when you convert your log footage that happens. And then you have to just clean that up. You just literally, every colorist goes through that regiment and clean up their stuff. And even like when they're trying to create some sort of like a vibe, it's like a half-baked, half-pregnant vibe. It's not all the way there. And then what's happening with our highlights? Like, why are they this cooked? This looks like something from like early 90s. And that's not a compliment. And once again, it's just like, nobody can tell me it's intentional, because this is also like very bright. But like, look how this sits and how good it looks. I mean, oh my God, to die for. And we go right here and we look at this. This is also like really high. Like, look at it. But it's just so healthy. It's so healthy where it's sitting. Okay, let's look at this. Like, these are like literally hitting the top, but even then they have like a little like arch that's happening up there. And that just gives it that nice little roll off. Whereas we don't get that here. Like, what is this? And then even like where the image sits, like the actual meat of it, like the middle of the image is always just off. And then the contrast is just like leaves a lot to be desired. It's like you just want to have a little bit more. And once again, if we look at a shot like this, It is so rich, right? People that are not colorists, they would look at a shot like that and they'll say, oh, it looks so sharp. Like that's something my mom would say, right? Like if the TV has like showing something in HDR, she always goes, oh my God, this looks so sharp. But what she's trying to say is that everything pops. It looks so good. The contrast is just choice. That doesn't mean the contrast is cooked. But if I come here, this is just hollow. This is just, and it's not a grading choice. We are seeing a pattern here that is just not well graded, period. It's not up to the standards of like, the stuff that we have going on here. And, let's just say, if we look at this shot, like look at the sophistication in this shot on every single level compared to when we come here and we look at this, like there's so much love left on the table that is just unattended. Same thing here. Like even like when it's supposed to get like a little colorful, it just then overdoes it and it leaves some gunk in there that just looks awful. So this right here, let's go judge it. So I'm going to take Squid Game and this is going to just go F. That's the hot take. Moving on. All right, next up we got a pretty controversial one, Breaking Bad, and it kind of blows my mind how many people think like, oh my God, Breaking Bad looks so amazing. It's so great. Literally, I went through a phase where I listened to every single podcast, and a lot of it literally was in the beginning of the show. I don't know for how many seasons was done in Avid. Like the actual editor was just slapping a Rec 709 and making adjustment to contrast and saturation. And you don't have to quote me on this, but a lot of it I feel like just went through like that, and it shows. It 1,000,000,000% shows. I look at this and there is nothing that I can just sit here and start like getting all pretentious and go, oh my God, like look at those reds. Like, oh my God, like look at those blues in the sky. Like there's none of that happening. This is a very basic conversion and then some contrast, some saturation pop, and you end up with like this borderline nuked image that just does not look good. Like what is happening with the sky? Like what is this? This is one of the highest rated shows in the world, right? This is not an aesthetic. Give me a break. This is just not an aesthetic. That's the choice. That's just what they went with. Because let's just talk about something. And this is going to hurt my ego and probably everybody that's watching, which is we colorists think that we play such an important role. And I want to believe that we do. But when the writing is so good, when the acting is so good, when the direction is so good, and you end up with something like Breaking Bad, one of the highest rated show of all time, color grading doesn't matter. Cinematography doesn't matter. It's just literally the actors that you're following, the characters in the show. It's the story that you're following, and that's what you care about. And this right here is the testament to that. It don't matter. Nobody is going to freaking hire you or fire you over that because obviously we didn't care. We love the show. Like even something like this, right? Like, this sort of red that happens, go shoot something outside, especially like, in Vegas or something like that, and shoot it on 5600 Kelvin, bring it back, slap a Rec 709, and you're going to end up with something very similar to that after you do a little bit of like Final Cut 7 or Premiere Pro contrast adjustment and saturation boost. You're going to end up with this. And that's exactly what that is. And that's okay. I'm not shitting on it. I'm just stating the facts. Like, this is the show like where style gone wrong, right? Like anytime they try to go somewhere, they just like went overboard and it's bad. I mean, it's broken. Look at the vector scope. Like, look at what's happening in the waveform. Bro, like this thing is cooked. Let's just go and look at our saturation false color. I mean, this thing basically passed like the Rec 709 requirement. It's on the cusp. It's like majority of it is sitting right here. Like this thing is blown. This thing is gone. Let's look at our false color. I mean, like, look at this. It's cooked. It's gone. So it's like nobody in their right mind can go, oh my God, Qazi, show me how to do this. But the funny thing is, like, if it's Breaking Bad, then everybody will find a justification and fix their freaking glasses. And everybody's going to sit here and write a dissertation on, like, how amazing this is. Like, let's just be honest. Let's just talk about what's good and what's bad. And that's why I feel like I'm going to have a blast with this series, because I also want to know your guys' thoughts on all of the shows that I'm rating. Like, I want to know, tell me that, hey, you're wrong because of X, Y, and Z. Let's have a dialogue. I want you to comment on it and then create your tier list. I would love to see your tier list, like where you would put everything compared to what I'm doing, because that's always interesting to me. Moving on to this shot. Again, if I were to punch in and like look at this, like it's almost like they are making adjustments, just all the wrong choices. Like this magenta that's coming in the highlights, that's just seeping in, it just looks so bad. And we can confirm it thanks to QT charts. I can just click on skin hue and there you go. Called it. Like it's just, and again, not the most accurate monitor. The accurate monitor is right here, but I want to talk to you guys and I want to look at this screen and keep it realistic, meaning most of you are also watching it on not a $30,000 monitor. So like, let's just do apples to apples. And by doing that, we can just see like how, you know, it's just so magenta and it's just kind of bad look. It's just bad. There's a difference between pushing the image and keeping it like, keeping that meat there, or just pushing it and blowing it out. Like, look at this punch, look at this punch. And then let's just go back and once again, look at this punch. Okay, look at this punch. This is pushed. Look at this punch. I mean, the blacks are like almost near the bottom. And it's just, I mean, if I go close and if we look at our guy, I mean, he has a lot of range. I mean, if I go to false color and look at what's going on here, I mean, we can clearly see that our boy right here, it starts from right here and goes all the way to orange up here. So like, look at how much is happening just on our subject here. So it's not like this shot is lacking contrast, but it just retains everything. I can just go here and find everything. Nothing is gone. Whereas like a shot like this or a shot like this, I mean, come on, you can't tell me that they're in the same category. Same thing with this, like blown out like sky. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I pulled these images from shotdeck.com, this show was shot on a film camera. So I just don't know why this is blown out like that, because when I see No Country for Old Men, it doesn't look like that. That's also shot on the same camera or a similar camera, I believe. And it doesn't look like that. So what's causing this? And then even like the grain pattern is just so irregular. So like you look at so much grain here, there's no grain here. Then you go here, there's so much grain here. And it's inconsistent. And overall, it's just all over the place. Like it's bad, guys. Like, look at this. Like, what's happening to the sky? Like, what is this? Like, I have ended up with footage like this hundreds of times, especially because I used to grade a lot of car shows. And for that, you know, these guys are just like running and gunning and you get what you get. And then you have to work with it. And most of the time I'll end up with skies like that. And I literally have to counter it. I have to create windows and then brighten up the sky by using my gain and then just like pull that out from like this, whatever this is, this mess that's happening. And then not to mention, if I go and click on our saturation false color, I mean, these guys are cooked. So like the skin should not be sitting in these areas. Unless you're Wes Anderson, sure. Otherwise, this is just too much. This is too far, okay? And this just does not look good. And then especially if we go to skin hue indicator, I mean, these guys are just like, the skin tones are just unnaturally red. They just don't look good on any accord. And then what is happening here? And once again, this has also happened to me by using a cheap, horrible ND and polarizer and a cheap lens. Like the image would have like this weird ass dip. And then I would go and I would create an oval and I would soften it up and I will reverse it. And, you know, that's just the love that you gotta give, right? And that's not what's happening here. So I'm sorry, but there's just no freaking way a show like this or Squid Game is gonna be at the same level as like some of the other shows that are here. So let's go ahead and judge this and see what we got. So I will take Breaking Bad and put it, I'm sorry. I mean, I promise you not every show is gonna go here. But I had to do it. It has to go there because I just took you through the entire thing and you witnessed it. And again, if you want to challenge me, then drop a comment below and let me see what you got. All right, moving on to Shogun, and I just did a full video recreating some looks from Shogun and breaking down the grade of Shogun. So if you want to check out that video, the link should be in the description. Yes, I do like it. It's very stylized. It serves the story. But now that I see it next to some of the heavy hitters that we have here, I'm just going to have to be honest. Like, let's just go through it, right? So this shot, amazing. This one, not so much. It's okay, but I feel like it's just too much on the nose. Like there's just too much imperfections that are happening that are just borderline distracting, okay? Because what we learned from looking at a masterclass, which is this right here, that you can have a very clean, very crisp, absolutely gorgeous piece of footage. And mind you, this is a sci-fi and it's a time traveling piece. So you're going from like literally all over the place, right? So like this is done in the past and I don't want to ruin the show for you. And then some things are in the present and then some things are in the future. So we're like jumping around all over the place. But even then, it's just done in a way that one, when you're watching it, it's really easy to pick up on those cues and just know by the color palettes chosen that which era you're in. But at the same time, it is so easy on the eyes and it just doesn't have to rely on these crazy, crazy, crazy memeable gimmicks to like sell you that, oh my God, look what we're trying to create and this is the new hot thing. I'm all for it. I like extreme stuff, but I'm just going to keep it real here because this is my tier list. And, this sort of like super heavy vignette that I see here, I can't unsee it, right? Like, and then this like the lens distortion that's happening here, anamorphic thing that they got going on. Same thing here. It's like the vignette is so extreme. I just remember watching it and my eye went right there. Obviously, my curse is that I'm a colorist, so I'm going to be picking out these things. But it was just a bit too on the nose for me. And, this was gorgeous. Like this shot, like probably one of my favorite sequences. Like this was just like such a, I don't know, like, otherworldly sort of like look. It's like a painterly thing going on. And that's very cool. But this, again, not so much. I'm just not the biggest fan of like them sticking with this like aesthetic. And obviously it's an aesthetic, but I think it's not my cup of tea. Let's just put it that way. And for that reason, let's just go ahead and rate this. So I'm going to take Shogun and I'm going to put it here. So C is not bad. C is basically like kind of following the trend, the new thing, doesn't necessarily age really well. So that's where I would put C. So let's just kind of, go through these tiers, how they're set up. So this is obviously untouchable God tier category. A is going to be like, just perfection, as good as it can get, but it doesn't have like that last X factor that just like blows your freaking mind. B is like, obviously for me, it's going to be above average, just like, still like really good. And then C is going to be like, they did the thing. They heard the assignment and they passed the assignment, right? But not with flying colors. And then D is just going to be, they could have done better. And then F is just like, okay, this doesn't work. All right, moving on to Fallout, and what an amazing show. It just lived up to the hype and then some. If you haven't seen it, it's a must watch. Good on every single level, including the color. Because look at this. Again, now we're back to the good shit. No gimmicks needed. So if they're going to create a dystopian world has ended vibe, then they have accomplished it when you look at something like this. It's a really well balanced, like it has a little bit of like cooler tones just seeping in, like a hint of that on the bottom end, and we can see it somewhere around here. But then majority of the image lives right here. Just classically done, right? And then we go here. Wow, just as good as any epic movie you can think of. Dune, throw it in there. This looks as good as that. And it's just so soft and gentle and doesn't come at a cost of like, if I go here, let's just say, you can make an argument and be like, well, this is also very soft, or, this is sort of not this one. Maybe this is like kind of soft, right? Like, I mean, this is, and you can see it here. It's like living in the middle. Then why does this and this are in just two completely different calibers. Like, I don't want to hear somebody saying, well, it's a wide shot, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean. It just, where everything sits, contrast is king, guys. Contrast is something that I would highly, highly encourage you to pay a lot of attention to and use this right here. Your custom curves. Get used to it, because all this magic that people are making, and that's why I like my look DNA, I went so hot and heavy on building the look using our contrast, but it just gives you 100 points more and like a lot more granular control than this to create really high-end looks. But the reason why that, and I called it look DNA, because I feel like that's the foundation of any epic look. It starts and ends right there. Because every example that we're seeing that is flatlining, say something like this, something like this, something like this, it's all just like coming down to really creating a beautiful contrast or not. And when you pull it off, it looks like this. I mean, this is a pretty healthy image, right? Because if I go here and turn on set false color, there's a lot of juice in here, but look at the range. I mean, we got some whites right here. We got like, under 5%, and then we go all the way and we hit to the top and we get to see it here. And it's just crisp and it's clean. And if we go to our false color, wow, it's beautifully just treated, right? Because majority of it is kind of dark and living around here. And remember when I said, if you keep your image between here to here, you're just going to have so much meat. Your colors are just going to be so vibrant and they're going to belong in that frame. And that's exactly what's happening here. It's clean. It doesn't need all that extra gimmick and, just some sort of like a thing, a shtick is just done properly. And same thing goes here. Yes, it has like a little bit of lens distortion going on. Maybe it's the practical effect, or maybe it's done in post. I buy it. I bought it. It's so clean. Let's look at our highlight neutrals. Yes, this is how it comes off. When I see it, these look so freaking clean. And look at that. And then they have right amount of color. It has like healthy amount of color, but it's just done in a way that's just is in a league of its own. It doesn't require a lot of explanation. You can just see it. And now look at this, right? So like they are creating a pretty strong contrast. I mean, things are flatlining here. So what this gets to tell you is that the contrast is pretty strong. But even then, if I go to some of these shots, like let's just say even like a, contrast in a shot like this, it just like absolutely dies and chokes at the bottom. And then it's like you can't see anything. You can't make out what the hell is going on. Or here, like what's happening to the top end and what's happening at the bottom end. Like it just, what is that? It's not giving me any information. Whereas like if I go back here and if I look at it, they're just not in the same category. They are in a class of their own. And then even like a shot like this, like where now we have a little bit of cooler tones. She's outside. And then all of a sudden it's a very different vibe than like, the deserty Vegas like thing that they had going on. And it's so believable, right? This could be a next shot. And all of a sudden you buy it because the color scheme that they're using is just so freaking good. And then look at the sky. Obviously, normally the sky would have like more magenta-ish blue in it. And they're going toward like that cyan thing. But it's just done to perfection. It's not too much. It doesn't choke you. I'm looking at it on a $200 screen, a $30,000 screen, my OLED, and I'm buying all of them, right? I mean, it's looking pretty saturated on my $200 screen, but even then, it doesn't look bad. It's not alarming. It's great. And then there's healthy amount of contrast, yet my eye goes right here. I look at my guy, and I'm buying it all. And yes, it doesn't have crazy amount of grain, and it doesn't have lens distortion, and it doesn't have like all that extra vignetting and all those things to like really make a statement that this is color grading. But I know for a fact that this is color grading. From one colorist to another, knowing that like what it takes to get here, there's a lot of jiggery pokery happening here, and it's on a very sophisticated level. And I can say the same exact thing for this shot. Especially when you are outside and there's just not much going on with different tones, it's not easy to build something that becomes like a favorite frame to showcase, which is exactly what I'm doing here, because it's just done in a way that I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, it's pushed in the right way, but then it's breathing also. and I'm liking it. I don't go that, I wish they just kind of pushed it a little bit more. I go, this is just the right amount. They just hit the sweet spot. This looks really freaking good. And then this is one of my favorite because when you do teal and orange, you don't necessarily have to do it in a way where it just looks like you slapped on a $20 LUT and then you're reverse engineering it. You know, like the every YouTuber that puts out a tutorial that says, slap a LUT, and then let me show you a magic trick. Go under your opacity and pull it back. It's like, it's just so wrong. But what I'm saying is this right here does not feel like that. This looks like a tailor-made, even if it's built off of, let's just say if you're using Look DNA, Kodak 2383 preset, and it's not baking anything, right? It's giving you all the flexibility to then go in and start build your look on top of that. And that's the sort of thing that's happening here. There's so much breathing room, and yet it's so pushed and it's just so beautiful and perfect. And I look at it and I go, oh my God, okay, this is the modern day teal and orange done to perfection. And look at this shot. Like, obviously we're living in a warmer quadrant, like right here, we're living on the top left, I meant, but it is just so gorgeous and it's so perfect. Like, nothing is pushed to a point where I just go, oh, dude, I wish, like, you know, the whites weren't blown out, or, you know, I can see a little bit more detail in his hair. I do. Yet the contrast is just like right on the cusp and I see it. Let's turn on our false color and look at it. And that's exactly what, I mean, just look at the range here. Obviously, you know, done through lighting and then more, and then finessed through color grading. But like, we're starting down here and we're ending up like over here and a little specks right here, over here, right? And then if we turn this on and off and we get to see it, like the type of contrast that's created. But the beautiful thing is, they're not even hitting it here. They're like the darkest part is like right here, and then the image is going up to something like this. And that is the beauty, guys. You have to figure out how much range you want to create, and do you want to create more range on the top end? Do you want to create more range on the bottom end? Here, they created more range on the top end and then left the bottom, you know, sort of like floating. And then we get to see that, but we still buy it that there's a lot of punch because they got to control it. And that's why I told you, play with your curves, play with this thing right here, because that's going to give you that freedom. Because like, if you just do contrast and like these linear changes, they're not the same. Or sometimes it just becomes too granular. If I go lift gamma gain, now I'm just doing too many things compared to like having one central hub where I can control it. How much contrast I need, where exactly I need the contrast, where exactly do I need to add a certain color. Like if I'm doing split toning, which is exactly what's happening here. So like on the top end, there's a little bit of warmth happening, right? Like, so like if you look at it right here and what I'm hovering over, like look at this color. This is not pure white, okay? So this has like a little bit of green tinge to it. And that's exactly what they created. So like if you're using my Look DNA, you'll be able to do that. You'll go in the highlights and you can just like crank the green, drop the blue, and boom, you're here. It's just done like that. And then that could be applied to an entire scene if you want to. So what do I think of Fallout? I will grab this and I will happily put it right here in B. Now, why did I not put it in A? Because once again, A is still for exceptional. It still really needs to make me go, holy fuck, like when I'm watching it. And Fallout was one of those that I was just like, oh, choice. Good, 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 great. Good, 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 great. But it wasn't like great, 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 right? So that's why it's B. And like I said, B for me, and how I'm setting up this list is still above average. And I think it was really good. I was very impressed. Next up is The Last of Us. Wow, what a show. I cannot wait for the next season. A very proper grading for this show, okay? First of all, let's just start with my favorite, absolutely my favorite scene of the entire thing when it comes to color grading. This shot right here, and the show started with it. So it was very different than the rest of the show. But Oh my God. And this is supposed to be a period piece, like something taking place in the 1980s or something like that. And I think these colors are so true to that. And it's just silky smooth. Once again, just look at the waveform, what is happening. And gorgeous. Let's just see where our skin tones are sitting. So the skin tones are perfect right here in the gray. So gray is like the middle gray. So that's like a perfect exposure, right? Like right in the middle where the skin tones should be. And then this boy right here is a little bit over. Caucasian skin tones can go over a few stops. So that makes perfect sense. And again, it's technically sound, but then the entire grade that's happening here was just epic. Okay. So that was like exceptional. Remember, I said, like, the shows that are going to get to great or A would be great, great, great. So with this show, it started with great, but then the rest of it was just like accurate. It was very good serving the story. So, like this shot right here, there we see a lot of color. She sees life outside of like these freaking undead people, try to kill them. So zombies. So then we see a giraffe, a very cute moment, and then all of a sudden there's life, there's colors, right? And we get to see that. And then here, this dystopian look, majority of the show lives in this sort of like vector scope range. So there's not a lot of color. It's sort of like lifeless. And even like in any other show, her burgundy hoodie would be popping, but it's not. And I love the contrast in this show. It is like sort of gentle. It's not masterfully done on the caliber of like, say, Dark. Once again, I'm just stuck on Dark. I'm going to be a broken record. But it is still very, 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 very good. Graded by Stefan Nakamura. I mean, that dude is a legend. So it's not for the lack of trying. I mean, he knows what's up. And it's really well done overall. And same thing like when we get to see these shots. So the reason why I wanted to show you this, right? So we can actually do a perfect comparison. So look at like the time when these girls are having a blast and we're seeing these colors, like we're seeing so much life, and just like look at unapologetically, like boom, let's go there. Let's go there. Let's explore that range compared to right here when we see something like this. This is also supposed to be a happy time, like, family having a good time, all that stuff. What are these colors? And that's why I put this where I put it, because it's just like, come on, there were so many missed opportunities because like back again, like in this show right here, The Last of Us, bam, give me that pop. I need that pop. Like, don't take my pop away from me. Like, I mean, this is how we can tell different situations in the show. Okay. This is people are dying, like bad shit is happening. All of a sudden, this is kind of cute. There's life. And then subliminally, like we have a little bit more color. We have less color. This feels like a period piece. That's great. Oh, okay. This like just should be full of fun and life. That's exactly what's happening here. And then show is starting out. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen. So everything is totally fine. Nothing is foreboding. It's very welcoming. It's warm. We get to see that here. This is probably one of my favorite. Again, this is back to great. Right? So like we have good, 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 and all of a sudden great. Like this to me just looks so fucking good. Like on every single level. Like I just look at, like I need this LUT. I need this power grade. I look at the skin tones. I look at the hair. I look at the shirt, like denim. I look at the red in the bricks. I close my eyes. I picture these colors, these hues, and they're exactly like that. But they're not like that. I mean, they're close to like that, but that's the mastery of color grading, that you pump so much juice and life into these things and you augment it, you fabricate it. But like when we close our eyes, we go, this is what it looks like. What else would it look like? Because this ain't Rec 709. If I look at the Sat false color, again, we have a healthy range, but again, not a lot of color. And that's the entire theme, right? So it's like bad shit is going on now. So there's not going to be a lot of color. But at the same time, where everything is living is just choice. And guys, what did I tell you? If we go to false color and we look at what's going on and where everything is living, let's see it between here to here. Remember, like this theme will continue. And that's why this tool is so freaking important. and having a utility that can just help you get what is the common denominator from shot to shot when there's so much meat and something like everything looks so good. What is it? And then now we can nail it that, okay, if our image lives right here between these, like we can have a lot of freaking love in there. More importantly, let's look at skin hue indicator, okay? Without even looking at it, I knew the skin was just choice, right on the money. And then when I turn this on and I look at it, it's on okay, which is like as good as it's going to be. And then a little bit red, which is where I like to keep my skin tones. I try to shy away from this. So if it's somebody Italian or Asian and they just have like an olive, complexion, that's okay. Then we can go there a little bit. But most of the time, when in doubt, keep your skin tones between this and you'll be very happy. Your clients are going to be very happy. Okay. So this is great. Moving on. This is also very good because it is proper. It is accurate. It is right. Now, if they were to just push and try to create some drama and try to create some complementary color scheme going, it's not going to be accurate because if something is lit on fire and it's all red and fire, it should not have any other color. And that is technically sound with the shot that we're seeing. And even this is so choice because what's happening here is that it makes me feel like sick when I look at this, right? This palette is just like little dirty. So if I go here and if I look at what's going on, so like a lot of yellow, a lot of green. So let's subtract some of the yellow. So if I just add some blue, right here, and then let's subtract some green. And if I subtract some green, and then let's add some blue, right? So if I just come here and if I do before and after, everything started to look kind of accurate, right? So I can just bring down the blue because I don't want it to be magenta. And now if I take the red and pull it down, and then I pull down the green, like we're starting to see that we're just pulling out all that magic, right? Like that's this greenish yellow gunk. Like this greenish yellow gunk that's just making it like, ugh. I just look at it and I'm like, okay, this doesn't look right. Get the fuck out of here, guys. And then I look at this and I'm just like, cool. Like this kind of looks cool. It could be a museum, you know? And all of a sudden a completely different vibe. So this was done really well. But again, a lot of it is done well and it's accurate and it's kosher. But is it something that just makes you go, oh my God, this is, I don't know, this is Blade Runner level, or this is dark level, or this, you know what I mean? So that's like what we're looking for. But it is very good. It is very accurate. Like, look at this shot. And it's just, I feel like cold, and this feels foreboding, and it's still kind of lifeless. And it's just, I don't want to be there. So then where should we put it? Now, this one I had the hardest time with. Okay, so when I grab, where is it? Right here. I am just constantly going between these two, but I'm just going to put it. I'm going to put it under C. Only because, I mean, this could also go under B. So I don't know, guys. Like, I mean, you guys can share your 2 cents and I can like literally go either or on this one. But the only reason why I'm putting it in C and not B is because I personally felt like Fallout just like really, really, really had some X factor happening there. And it was not all great, but it was very close to it. Let's just say if that one had like 4 greats and 3 goods, this one has like 2 greats and the rest of them are good. So that's why it's going to like C. That's how I'm judging it. But again, like I can easily put it up there too. Just saying. All right, moving on to probably like my top 3 favorite, all-time favorite shows. Chernobyl. Oh my God. And yes, before we even go through these, this is God tier. This goes all the way up. This is, I would say it's even better than Dark. This is just, this, I don't even know what this is. When you look at it and you see the color choices that are made, how everything is built out, it feels so effortless. See, this is what I mean. Like the true mastery is hidden here. where you don't necessarily need to see the magician's trick or even feel like there was a magician. Here, you just go, how did they do it? Like, did they just shoot it in camera like that? Was that day just like really overcast and it looked like that? No. This, oh my God. Like, look at this deep, 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 deep jet black, like jet black. And then look at like the green undertones in the entire image while the skin is protected. And this is not a qualifier operation, how this is being achieved. And then look at the depth in the red. And then even like this little beige brown. Oh my God. Like this entire thing. I mean, look at this shot. Like what? You will not see any vignettes. You will not see any lens distortion. You will not see outrageous grain. None of those things are happening. And yet it just feels like, is this guy just grading like with two knobs and then he's just done? It feels like that, but I dare you, give it a try. It is one of the most sophisticated, complicated grades, just done in an effortless way. Like, just look at this. This is as good as anything we'll ever get. Period. Like, just challenge me on it. Like, skin tones, done to perfection. I think they're going to be a little bit on the magenta side. Let's see. Yeah, so see a little bit on the magenta, then okay. So that's great. And then let's look at sat false color. Look at the colors. Like, there's barely anything. We're living from here all the way to here. This is like our color palette in terms of the saturation. Yet, it still feels like there's so much here. Why? Because if I were to go to my highlight neutrals, like, this is insane. The skin is so desaturated that it's borderline like, falling under like neutral colors, right? Because the saturation is under 5%. And yet it doesn't feel like it's a black and white image. Now you understand like what I'm saying? Like when I say this is just done to perfection. I mean, look at the vector scope and where the colors are sitting, but nobody will ever tell me that this doesn't look like there's enough color in there, because it does. Same thing here. And the entire palette just goes like, it just goes to the thing, like it goes to the place. And then yet we have this sort of like jet black. So like that is the actual separation. So it doesn't feel like, once again, a $20 LUT applied and then somebody trying to pull that back and trying to get something out of it. Like, no. So when you look at the clock in the back, to his skin tones, to his sweater, to this like little cloth in the back, every single thing retains its color, yet it is beyond stylized when we look at our waveform, and nothing is coming at a sacrifice. Like everything is protected, yet it feels like there's a lot of push here. There's a good amount of contrast here. Obviously, there's not a lot of contrast in these shots, but then again, this is also a choice. So if I go to false color and we look at it, like look at our deepest shadows. Our deepest shadows are right here. And then our brightest brights are right here. So that is all a choice. And it just creates like, and once again, that's why I implore you to like mess with your curves, because this is the only way you can like create this jujitsu where you can like have a pretty healthy contrast on the top end and then really soft roll off on the bottom end. But when you digest the shot or the frame, it doesn't feel like log. This is not log, right? It has the right amount of juice, but the colorist got to dictate where he's going to put that juice. Look at this shot. I mean, come on. Like what? It just, like when you're just working on a shot like that, your brain will say, let me give it some saturation and then let me give it a good amount of contrast. Like I must. And you would want to park it right here. And like when the bones and the foundation of your image is done right, then even if we do what I just did, it will still make it look good. So like even this, right? Like I just went and did two things. Even this looks good. It doesn't look bad because like the bones, the structure that he created, it just like makes everything look good. And now if we go to that, like, maybe our brain will go, oh, maybe this looks better. It doesn't. Because if I just like remove this and I go back to that, and if we just like look at like the entire theme that is created for this show, like all of this, see, like now our eyes adjusted back to like this world than like what I created. And it is silk. It's so freaking silky. Like I can see every single luminance change in the clouds. This doesn't, I mean, it's not even like it doesn't look real because it might not be real, but that's not the point. Because another colorist will take the same thing and just blow it out. My God, I'm just so in love with this color. I mean, look at the chandelier, and we can see every single, again, luminance change that is happening. Nothing is cooked. And then look at the highlights, same thing is happening, pretty lifted. And if I click right here, same theme continues. We will never, in this show, we will never get here. We will always be living around here. And that's a choice. And that's what creates an aesthetic. And consistency is king. And that's why some of the shows that are going to tank and are going to or are getting bad ratings, let's just say something like Breaking Bad, is because, come on, at this level, you cannot drop the ball and have like 17 different grading styles. And I'm not even talking about that. Like you can have like different themes for different scenes and stuff like that, but it still somehow needs to come together. So creating drastically different grades, let's just say a flashback sequence compared to like present time to compare to future time, sure, those can have their own looks, but at the same time, it has to like tie together somehow. It has to come together somehow. And it can't just do things without any rhyme or reason, or else when we're watching it, it pulls us out of that moment. Whereas like Chernobyl, when you're watching this show, I mean, as I'm seeing this, it makes me want to watch it again. I might just finish this video and then like put on episode number 5, which is my favorite, like the last episode and episode 1, and I'll probably watch it because it is such a treat. Every time I throw it on, every time I get a new TV, this is the first show along with Mad Max and a couple of other movies that I throw on, Blade Runner, just to kind of see the fidelity and like what it has to offer. And like, come on. This is the show that as soon as the 4K or HD Blu-ray came out, I bought it. As soon as it became available on Apple TV, I bought it because I just wanted to see like where can I achieve the highest quality, consuming this content. It's just that absolutely stunning, gorgeous, done right on 100 different levels. And for that reason, we're going to go right here together. We're going to grab this. We're going to slap it right up here. Boom, because that's exactly where it belongs. All right, so the granddaddy of all shows when it comes to cinematography, color grading, I'm talking about Euphoria. And I can't tell you how many people told me to do a video on Euphoria, how many times my wife tried to convince me to watch Euphoria. It's just the subject matter just doesn't really do anything for me. But when I go through these frames and I look at this, graded by a friend and an extremely talented colorist, probably top 5 colorists of all time, Tom Poole. And his work is just, it speaks for itself. And I feel like I had a discussion with him, and I'm not going to speak for him for this show, but he did say that a lot of his inspiration comes from photography. And I can see that here. Like, I just feel like these might as well be images. Like, this is a photo, right? Like, this is a photo. Like, this could be an ad for, I don't know, fucking Calvin Klein or something. This is a photo. And it's like, we can just go through, this is a photo, right? So it's like, this is a photo. Like, this could be just like Bud Light ad or something like that. And a lot of it is just like that. It's like a photography. And you can see if I turn on my false color that he's really having fun with the range that's given to him. So like we're starting right here and we're going all the way up here, right? So like we're really, really just pushing it to create the image and that we want to create and similar stuff, right? So like this one is just like breathes a little bit here, but then like it goes up pretty aggressively, even around his hair. It goes up to here, right? So like he's just having a lot of fun. And he's not shy of like really punching in that like color density and like creating that again, like it was shot on like a film camera as a photo. And it just has like a something very special to it. This could be just like a new gym launch and they're doing an ad, and then this is what you see in a magazine, and it just looks like that. It's just a very distinct style of color grading compared to anyone else. And once again, he's not necessarily playing so much with like the gimmicks to dirty up the image and try to like make it beautiful that way. It's just holds so much punch, so much love, and it's just for days. You just look at it and you're like, holy hell, you can just put it with the best of them all the way to the top. I will take it and put it right here. I will put it on A and not on S for just a couple of reasons. One, again, it all comes down to your personal preference. And yes, I love the photography look and like how pushed it is and how everything is still protected. I love it. But my personal preference, I still like to fuck more with dark and Chernobyl. I still prefer that aesthetic. I'm not saying that I don't love Euphoria. I just prefer that aesthetic over this. So I'm going to put this under A, which is, again, as good as it's going to get. All right, next up, we have another show from Tom Pool's Severance. One, excellent show. Definitely watch it. And two, the color grading for this show just jumped out to me so freaking hard because there's a lot happening here. This is a very mature grade. First of all, what you see is like, there's a lot of like this clean white look going on. And that is the theme of this like sci-fi piece. But then it's contrasted with like tons of rich colors and good amount of color in the skin tones. But if I park it on this shot, look at what's happening. He's doing a lot of jiu-jitsu in his contrast on this show, particularly. And once again, you're going to see it almost like that photography-esque thing going on. It looks like a photo. Like this looks like a photo, right? And if I go and park it here and turn this on and we look at our contrast, you get to see like how aggressive he is in this area right here, from midtones to the highlights. And then he's pretty gentle on the low end. And that's where we see that, right? Like you're not going to see this in this show. Everything is going to live right here. It's going to be very soft on the bottom end. And then it just picks up. It ramps up in this area. And that's why curves. Mess around with it, get in the habit of using them, because you're going to end up with like really, really interesting looks. And if I were to show you my highlight neutrals, I mean, look at, man, like this is as much of a clean white look as you're going to get. And it doesn't come at the cost of our boy right here, or the Rolex green or the blue that we're seeing here. And the one utility that I created to get you this sort of like clean white look, which is literally our highest selling, best selling product, which is QT color compressor. And I don't work on any project without that thing. It's like, I've done a full video on it. I'm going to have a link in the description if you want to check it out. But that just gets you to like this freaking thing so freaking fast. And then you can just use other tools like Look DNA or whatever have you to like add that extra oomph at the end. But this is the actual magic that's happening here. Like, look at the clean white action that's happening here. And then there's a good amount of color, but not a lot. I mean, if we look at right here, like, there's not a lot of color. And we can even check it with our sat false color and look at the skin. Skin is sitting right here. So that's a good place to keep your skin. Anywhere from 0.45 to 0.75 is like where you wanna live in for the skin to like for it to look really good. And this does that. So absolutely stunning, like through and through. Again, it's going to be very similar to where the skin was sitting. So I go to this shot, look at it right here, go to this shot, and sat false color is a killer tool for shot matching. So you see, like, we got that white going on, we got that white going on. We got this, like right here, 0.3, which is barely any saturation. And we got that going on through and through, and we can see it, in this entire show. And that's how you can get to see like how good of a match it is, or how good of a job somebody did when it comes to like creating a certain theme. And it holds true. Like this show is, and again, guys, let's use that example that we saw from Squid Game and Breaking Bad, like where anytime they would do a push, everything else will crack. Whereas, like here, we're seeing that these images are pushed. Like, look at how pushed this is, right? Because the asphalt here, the road shouldn't be this like dark. It should be like lighter gray, or it should be just gray, pure gray, but it shouldn't be this dark. And he went there. And not only that, we can see that the overall image is cyan, right? Because like that's like really easy. We can just go right here and kind of pull that cyan. So if I just take that, I'm literally just like looking at my, I was actually just like looking at my offset. And I'm just, if I'm just going here, even if I just go this much, and if I do before and after, I pulled all of that out, right? And we leveled our blacks or our shadows pretty much. And our top is getting pretty good, right? We still have more work to do, but like you can see even right here in our vector scope, and now we can just like move it over a little bit to something like this, even if we keep it somewhere around here. Like we pulled a lot of like this color that's being created, but it goes with the theme of the show. So it's perfectly fine. And that's the whole idea. So even when he's like taking the entire image into a certain world, the reason why I'm buying it is because we still have a pretty strong contrast, pretty strong pop, and it just like ties the entire series together. And then when we come to something like this, now this does have very much like a photo quality, like, it's just like a snap, like it just feels like it. Because if I take you here and show you the contrast in our false color, I mean, like, look at what's happening. Same thing again, he's going from here, like crazy aggressive up top. So from mid-tone to like highlights, like he's really having fun. And then on the low end, he's super, super soft in all of these areas. And then this is a great example of like an actual very moody grade. Like, look at the skin tones. Like, there's no way skin tones naturally will just look like that, right? Because if I go here, like it doesn't even register the skin tones. And if I go to highlight neutrals, it doesn't register that because the entire image is leaning toward this. Like, I mean, we can see it right here. But even then, it's done in a way where it doesn't hit you in the mouth. Yes, there's a color cast, but it's gentle and soft enough that it doesn't feel like a cheap LUT. And it looks like an intentional thing. And then, wow, what a freaking grade here. Like this to me just looks so freaking elegant, so classy, and just perfect. Tom Poole's grades are so clean. I mean, this dude, it just knows how to take out the gunk, like the thing that colorists are hired to do. The reason why I was just getting so bummed with like Breaking Bad and Squid Game type grades is because that's not what's happening. That should be happening. Like a colorist's job is to like do things that normal people don't even know how to attack. And that's what we see here. It's just so freaking clean. It's just cleaned up. It's like all those things that usually will be embedded in your camera, especially if you're shooting it on like, let's just say one of the preset color temperatures, 5600, 3200. When you bring it in, it's going to have something like that. You have to pull that out. I mean, look how clean this is. So I can tell you right now, the highlight neutrals are going to go off like a Christmas tree when I turn on this node. Boom. Just like I called it. Like, look at all of this. Yet, this is to die for. Like, this is just isolated so beautifully compared to everything else. And then, come on, look at this. So you want to add colors and you want to add a lot of pop, then do it this way. Like, look at how everything is controlled, yet you just go, oh my God, is this HDR 2.0? Like, what the hell is going on? And this is an SDR grade that we're looking at. Everything is protected. Guys, this is a master at work. I'm telling you right now, because even if I take you to Stephen Nakamura's The Last of Us, and even if we go to this shot right here, see, like some of it is just like starting to clip and like, choked pretty hard. And obviously it depends on the lights too. And we're staring right into the light. So I understand all of that. And now if we go all the way back to my boy that I'm just going after recklessly right here. Like, what? This is editor grading the freaking thing compared to like if we come back here and we go here. Like, they're just not in the same category. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I am creating a tier list literally based on merit, looking at what we see with our own eyes and how it makes us feel. So, and wow, like look at this, how freaking amazing it looks. And we're going to be coming back to this because I'm going to be showing you some examples later down the road. And for you to appreciate how good this looks and how amazing this really is, it's when we look at the other example and we come back. And first of all, let's look at our highlight neutrals. How clean, crispy clean, I can taste it, this shot is. And then the black hair is black. And the skin tones for an African American here is the epitome. And you know, who better to do this than the guy who actually grades Black Panther? Like this guy knows, he mastered how to work with darker skin tones. And it just shows right here in spades. This is so good. So where does this sit? I will take Severance and put it right here without a freaking question. These two are just so freaking next level, right up there. Why are they not in God tier category once again is because my personal preference, I still like the little bit of like a gentle, softer, and nuanced grading that took place in Dark and Chernobyl, personally. All right, now we move on to Lord of the Rings, The Power of the Rings, I believe. And what a freaking letdown on every single level. Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite trilogy, just like everyone else's, and I watch it once a year. I love it so freaking much. We watch extended version once a year, my wife and I, or sometimes I'll just watch it. But like, I just love it so much. You can put it on right now and I'm going to start watching it. I had such high hopes, and especially Amazon Prime attacking this series with unlimited budget. I thought this is going to be Game of Thrones 2.0. What a freaking letdown. It is a horrible show. I'm trying to get into the mythology and just still power through, and I just can't. And grading has a lot to do with it. I think this is one of the worst grading I've ever seen. And I'm sorry if the colorist of this show is like the greatest colorist of all time. I'm sorry. This is not good because it just looks so fake. Like it's overgraded, okay? There is such a thing as like overgrading your shit. And this is what that is. Like every frame just looks like it's a set. Looks like it is lit with $100,000 lights. Looks like it is shot with $100,000 cameras and lenses. Like it's just too freaking pretty and it's too glossy. It's too much. You don't have to go all the way to Shogun, but you also don't have to go here. This is just too far, too clean, too much like God's ray going on in every single shot. And it's like when it's happening in every single shot, then there's nothing special. And then turn down on the just go easy on the glow effect. Like it's just too far, too on the nose. It's just like, look at it. Look at these frames. And again, if you disagree with me, let's have a conversation. But when I'm watching this show, dude, I cannot get into it. I just can't get into it. Like this looks like a set. Like this looks like I'm in Universal Studios and they're doing a little skit or something. It looks like a set. This looks fake. Like I don't know. It's over-engineered. It doesn't look good at all. Then when you watch Lord of the Rings, that thing, you can touch it, feel it. It's real. It's so good. So for that reason, I'm sorry, guys. I just have to do it. I'm going to put this. I'm going to put it here. I just have to. I'm sorry. All right, moving on to one of my all-time favorite shows. I have seen Mindhunter maybe genuinely like 14, 15 times from start to finish. I'm not even kidding. I'll probably put it on like later today. I am obsessed with Fincher. I am doing this. I do what I do because of Fincher. I was going to school for network engineering, and during my security job, I was just doing a side gig. I was a security officer, and most of the time you're just like chilling and you're just like, hoping that nothing goes wrong and you have a lot of downtime. And I would just like watch Fight Club and Seven on repeat. And that's what put the love of like, I want to do this for a living. So this is where it all started. So I will always, always, always have a soft spot for my boy Fincher. Always. That said, this show was a crazy hit or miss in terms of color grading. I feel like a lot of the exteriors just were a miss. Like we all understand Fincher has his like little sickly yellowish green thing and earthy tones that happen. But I think this one, it just like kind of misses the mark. It's not at that caliber of like what we're used to. And you can just see the sky, just like the whole thing just kind of leaned there and it's like lazily leaning there. And it just kind of gives away the trick. You just see it and you're like, ugh, like it just, I don't know. It just doesn't actually look that good. And then even here, right? So this is, and now think about a movie like Seven. And when you see a shot like the car going through, and it's raining or something like that, it just has so much meat. That's not what's happening here. Like, if I punch in, like, what is this? Like, this is not even the actual color, the yellow color of the road. And it just feels weird. And it's just not very like Fincher level. And then we come here and this was like literally one of the most distracting scenes. I feel like in a frame, it looks pretty good, but when you're watching it in like Dolby Vision, it actually looks way worse. And like this, like even the framing, I'm just kind of like, what is the point of that? This is so distracting and weird and ugly. And just in general, I feel like the hue just kept missing the mark. Like when you think of The Social Network, that is chef's kiss. This just kept missing the mark. I just felt like a little bit of a Squid Game thing happening, like where it's just, we're not committing. Let's commit to something. Like we're just not committing all the way. Like what if, even if we just do like I don't know, let's commit to something. Like even if I just like add a little bit more contrast and then go there, it might not be bad. I don't know. But it just, this is good. This is actually good. I like that. This is good. And obviously Fincher will always nail the exposure, and because everything that he works on has like such a dark subject matter, and I feel like that just comes through with cinematography and grading choices and art direction and all of that. So overall, I just felt like the day scenes were sort of like a miss, and then all the interior shots were really good. So this looks great. This doesn't look bad. This actually doesn't look bad. So this one was okay. Nothing to write home about, but still not bad. And then this looks great. So again, a lot of like the interior were very much like Fincher. That's the classic Fincher that we know. That's great. But I feel like the exterior were just kind of like, whatever. So where do I want to put this? In terms of the look, I'm going to put it, I'm going to put it like on D. I wanted to put it on like under C, but I feel like it's just not gonna do justice. I mean, and honestly, I feel like at the end I might actually move some of these around because I'm just like now really looking at these and I'm going like some might not be fairly placed, but we'll see. We'll see. So just hang in there and we'll work on it together. All right, so this is The Bear. Great show. Season 3, we kind of fell off. But the color grading is probably the most inconsistent grading I've seen in a show, period. And for that reason, it doesn't sit well with me. So season 3, I think finally they started to get a feel for it. And this is from season 3, episode 1, Choice. Looking really, really good. Everything is in under control. But then, like, look at this. This is also season 3, episode 1. And it gives away that there's too much grading happening with the sky, like the magenta that's being created up top, also like seeping into like, his nose and like the highlighted areas and also seeping in here. And it's just like, it's very overly engineered and it just comes through and then the highlights are nerfed. The highlights are not like really opened up. And it just kind of feels weird. Like it just doesn't feel right. And then what is this? This is from season 1. This literally felt like a $20 LUT thrown on and then like, let's just leave it. I'm just gonna slap that on and I'm just gonna move on. I mean, it's like everything is cooked. Like this is not a good example of like push look. And if I turn this on, if I go to false color, like this is cooked, boys. Like this is like right here. This is gone. And then we're going like so far up. It's just, and like, what's happening here? Like this is not good, because if I were to go here and now show you this, and let's just do a comparison, and we're going to change this to selected clips, and let's just go here and turn this off, and now let's make it bigger and put this next to each other. I mean, come on. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you guys are going to be like, well, this is a completely different look. They're going for teal and orange, blah, blah. I understand all of that. What happened to his face? His face looks so dirty. It just looks so it just looks bad. Like if I am him, if I'm an actor, it's just not going to work. Because I work in the commercial world, there's a lot of bounce backs. And because I like to like really push my grades, there's a lot of bounce backs. And it's always from the talent. The talent is not comfortable with making a really dope ass look on the expense of their skin. They don't like it. And this would not suffice if it's a commercial or something like that. And you look at this, they are in completely different classes, okay? Like this is, wow, like just brain exploded emoji everywhere compared to like cheap LUT. I'm sorry, it just, it's crazy. Let's go back here. And now you're seeing like how different this is, right? Like it's just all over the place. So it's like, okay, this looks like this, great. And then all of a sudden it looks like this. And then it looks like this and it looks like that. Like how are they the same show? And this is not supposed to be like, he's having flashbacks or anything like that. And I feel like, again, this is that example of just like, you can do teal and orange the right way. So even if we compare this to this, very, very close. And if I go here and if I pop these open, extremely close examples, right? We can agree to that. Massive difference between the two. Okay. Like look at the hair, how this like has so much like green tinge coming in. None of that here. Like look at this. It is clean as fuck. And then like look at how like all this green is just seeping into everywhere. Like right here, this is so dirty. Look at the whites here. How clean the whites are here. While there's like even more of like a stronger teal there. And that is the difference between like a true master at work. And I'm not saying whoever graded the bear is not a true professional, but there's always going to be a new devil on every level, So it's like, Tom Poole here is just like in a class of his own. And that's just the truth. Okay. So now if we go here, like what happened, right? Like we go to this contrast, this sort of thing, and then we go here, completely different. Season 3, episode 1, good. Like finally, like, they're just like really getting a hang of like what it should be like. This is earlier seasons. It doesn't do it for me. It's just missing the mark. This, not bad. This is not bad. But once again, it's a very strong grade that just makes the faces look like not that great. And then like, what is this? So obviously this is like a effect added. Nobody can tell me this harsh line where the blur effect like right here stops. Nobody can tell me, oh no, that's a smudge on the mirror. Like, it's like an effect on the lens. Like, no, this is just a bad vignette. That like overlooked vignette. Like right here. It's an overlooked vignette. We can just see it like right here, like what's going on. And then the highlights, right? So like now, if we just like look at these highlights compared to, we look at these highlights. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. So let's go back here and then go here and then go back here and pop it open. I mean, you're telling me that this is not like maxed out either, but like look at how this is controlled, all of it, and we can see the different like tonal ranges compared to like what just happened here. It just got cooked and ugly. Everything is like clean here. So that was just the thing with this one. I just feel like it's too temperamental of a grade. It's all over the place. Season 3, episode 1. Let's get it. Let's get it. So the silver lining here is that it's the same colorist, and now with season 3, they locked it in. It's like now the caliber of this colorist is like, on another freaking level. I mean, this is season 3, episode 1, season 3, episode 1, season 3, episode 1. Wow. Like he found it. Like this is it. They got it. Let's go now. But this is earlier seasons. So same kitchen. What the hell? Like it just looks like 2 different shows, right? Obviously somebody's going to say, well, this is, when they were trying to make it and now they made it. And it's like they did a remodeling and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not buying it. This is just the progress of the colorist that you see here. So if he would have able to do similar thing here, he would have, because this is how the skins should look like, right? So like this is so pretty. It's so even. It's so perfect. Like, yet it has so much detail. This is just dirty. And this does not look good. And the reason why I keep saying that is because I used to do that. I used to do that a lot with my skin tones, because I would just like grab the areas in my contrast that I wanted to like create a punch. And I was just grabbing it too close to like, darker skin tones. And it ended up creating this thing compared to that. Massive difference. So where do we want to put it? We're going to grab it and we're going to put it right here. Why? Because of inconsistencies. Like overall, it has a good look. It's not a bad look, but there's a lot of inconsistencies. And for that reason, I decided to put it where I did. And especially with your talent, you can't create a look at the expense of your talent. All right, now we have a show that just like literally should have ended 2 seasons ago. I'm talking about The Boys. It's just getting weirder and weirder for the sake of like memes and nothing else. I'm completely over it. And I think the grading is just very similar to The Bear. There's a lot of inconsistencies. And more importantly, I understand they're going for a very distinct look. I think it could just still be done in a way where we don't get to see the magic trick. That's the ultimate idea. We don't want to see the magic trick. This is great. So this looks really good. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as great. This is good. This is not good. It doesn't really do anything for me. And then this is like, again, creating high contrast at the expense of like just missed information. Like, you're pushing it and you're just going really hard. It's almost like, it feels like they slap a look on and then they rework it to like make it okay. And again, I'm saying that because I would do that in the past. Like I would just like, I have a LUT or I have like a power grade that I just feel like would be really cool. And I slap it on and then I go, oh, fuck, it doesn't work. What am I supposed to do? And then I just like start reworking it. And then from scene to scene, it just like, ends up losing its magic. And by the time you get to the last scene, it looks flat and weird and there's not enough juice in the skin tones and it just like looks bad. And that's what I see here. Like if I go here and if I turn on false color, I mean, it's cooked, it's gone. And then like, there's just like so much is happening. It feels like a contrast created with a contrast, like right here, just slider. Like it's just like this. Like it's just like created with like a contrast slider. There's no sophistication. There is no like what Tom Poole is doing. Like the kind of jiu-jitsu that he is showing you with all of this stuff. Like where there's just so much punch, but he gets to pick where is he going to create and where is he going to get that punch from. Okay? And that's how these looks are created, folks. Like it's not just created with like, by just like grabbing something linear and cranking that puppy, because you're going to end up with things like this. And then it just, again, it looks like it's not properly converted. And then like Resolve codec 2383 LUT is applied and it's just not, again, used properly. And then there's a lot of like reverse engineering happening to like pull some of that out. And it just, the teal parts are getting cooked and weird. And it just, the skin looks like so thin, and it's like, it just literally feel like a wrong color space transform is applied. And that's just how I see it, because there's just better ways to create like a, I mean, you want to create like a sad, muted, uh, dystopian vibe. Okay. They did it here, and it's pretty good. I buy it. So it's like, and then they did it here. And it's like, it just doesn't need to be like, this just doesn't look good. I think we're out of the era of creating looks like traffic and stuff like that. That's when we were toddlers as colorists. That's like day one of like DI. So we were just like getting our feet wet and just messing around to figure out like what's happening. Now I think we're just past that point. And then it's like, it goes from like such a crazy contrast and pushed and teal and orange thing happening forcefully, and then it goes to something like that, and it's just kind of like washed out and not doing anything. It's not even like warm, like where it's like a real warm shot, like where I go, wow, like that warmth just feels so nice. Like if we were to see something like this, now that's like a embedded warmth. That is like, oh, like warmth. This is warm. This, like, yes, like that's warm. And now if I go back and I just click on this, like, you get what I'm saying? So it's like, this is why sometimes you got to like put these things next to each other and see like, who's who in the zoo. And then like, look at this. And the skin tone just doesn't do it for me. It's like, what kind of, if we want to look at style, and if we just want to create something really crazy, then we can look at all of these styles, and these are kind of cool. Like, I mean, now that's a style. Now that's like, taking it into a specific world, and I'm buying it. Like this is a style. Like this is not like a Rec 709 look. Like this is a vibe. Like, it's a really warm look, and I buy it. This is like a period piece vibe, and I'm with it. Look at this, right? These are great examples. But then you come here and you look at like this, it's just, it's a really bad example. This is very similar to like what's happening here. It's just like pushed, beyond repair. And I can come here and I can show you this, like these are all cooked, and majority of it, like, face looks so bad because it's like the colors are just like seeping in, like, the colors that are getting clipped, and it just like creating this like dirty face look. Everybody has a dirty face, and like, it just, this is the best shot in the entire show that I can find. And that's like closest to Rec 709. So it's like basically when they just like stripped away all of their like LUTs, and they just like kind of went back to just like, oh, let's get close to like whatever. I mean, there's a look applied and I can clearly see it, like even just like the teal tones like around here. But this is like the closest to the most natural shot, and it looks the best. And I feel like if the whole show like took lead after this, it would have looked great. And it does not. So where will I put it? I will grab it and I will put it right here. The reason why I'm not putting it in F is because F really has to be like a massive, massive failure. And now that we have gone through everything, let's look at it and see if I want to move something. I mean, I am just like very much torn and thinking about moving The Last of Us up here, only because it didn't do the gimmicks. The color was like very solid, rock solid. And yes, it was not close to Severance or what's happening up here, Euphoria level, but it was very, very good. And then Shogun was good. So it is still like average. So it was good, but I think it was just like a bit much. And again, this is my tier list, and I feel like the reason why I put it here and not here is because it's not going to age really well when you like drive something with so much gimmick. And then Euphoria here, I mean, man, I just have to go with my gut, and I'm gonna leave it like this. I mean, obviously, definitely before Severance, or doesn't really matter. But this is my tier list. I want to see your guys' tier list. I want to see you challenge me on my tier list on some of these. If you have some specific opinions, whatever, let's share them. Let's talk about it. And there you have it, guys. So what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with my choices? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. This video took a while to put together, so it will mean the world to me if you smash the like button, share it with friends and filmmakers, and do not forget to check out Qazi's Toolkit. Save $200 on the QT bundle, the best look creator you can get for Resolve right now. So link is in the description. And on that note, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, fam.